Good afternoon, everyone. It's Chad here, June 21st. I just filmed a general update, so make sure you check that out. But in this video, as I'm working out here, I have to do some main vine slash stem maintenance on the pumpkins to adjust those, as well as some stump maintenance on the pumpkin, or the crown, or the basil crest, or whatever fancy name you want to call it. I call it the stump. I'm going to do some maintenance on those areas of my plants. That is a common question we get asked this time of year is, vine and stump maintenance. So I'm going to film it for you. Hopefully you get some value out of that. So stay tuned. So I appreciate you watching all of my videos. Thank you so much for coming on this journey with us. In case you don't know, my name is Chad. I grow giant pumpkins and I do some other cool stuff that I think you guys might enjoy. If you do enjoy it, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. It's right down there, as well as the little bell, so you get a notification when I post a video. If you have questions, comment below. I love answering questions. I get to them usually once a week, maybe twice a week if I'm real and feeling spunky. And it's worth noting that there is tons of other people who have giant pumpkin YouTube channels, and that's phenomenal because there's a ton of information out there on how we all do things a little bit differently, and there is no one way to do something. Everybody has a different way, and what works for you is the best way to do something. So watch my videos and watch everybody else's videos, extract the best parts from them, and apply that to your own pumpkin growing adventure. So enough of that. Let's talk about what I got to do. We're going to start here with the 1676 new. This pumpkin has been named Howie by my son, so Maxwell named this one Howie. Howie is probably 32 days old, we'll say. Probably, that's actually pretty close. Probably 32 days old. It's growing about 30 pounds per day, and it's in the ballpark of 400 pounds. Still a youngin' in the grand scheme of things. But let's talk about what I need to do to this pumpkin. All right, so this pumpkin needs a little bit of maintenance, and let me show you what it needs. Always cover your pumpkins. With that being said, I only have one of my 3 covered, so do as I say, not as I do. As your pumpkins grow, they put a large amount of stress on that main vine that is supplying them. So you can see right here, I'm probably going to cut this leaf off, that there's a kind of a gouge. This is actually a crack right there. When it was young, had a bit of a growth surge and made a little crack there, and I have as such, or after that I adjusted it. But now we're getting another little one kind of right here, and it's time to lift up this vine a little bit. This is something you definitely only want to do during the heat of the day. Never ever ever do it in the morning when the plant is cold. That's a good way to break a vine, maybe snap it off your stem. And that would just be horrible if that happens. So always do this in the heat of the day. It's 3 o'clock right now. I'm sweating like insert your joke right there. And it's the only time you can really do it. So how I do it is I take pool noodles there, I cut them, and I use those as risers. Usually you just have to cut a couple of the tap roots and put those pool noodles up underneath it, and that does the job. So let's see if I can try and film some of this process so you can see actually how it goes. Step number 1 is to give yourself some room. I just snipped off 6 leaves to give myself some room around the pumpkin so I can see. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, I cut off the leaf right on the stem. Just a little bit of room right here, and that's okay. By cutting off 6 leaves, I have plenty of leaves. 6 leaves is not a big deal. So don't stress about chopping off a few leaves. You can see a pile of leaves over there that I chopped off of this plant. You can see the little stalks, just so I had more walking room. I'm a firm believer in the easier you make something to do, the more likely you're going to do it. So by cutting leaves off of areas where you frequent, it just makes your life easier to do what you need to do. So now we have access to the main vine right here. So you can see I have clear path. or if I need to, I can lift up the secondary vine, I can lift up this main vine, I can do anything I need to right here without really fiddling with it too much. So let's get to it. So here we go. I got my pool noodle and my pair of scissors. I like using scissors rather than knives. If you use a knife, you know, and you're cutting things, you know, you could be cutting something and nick something else. I find that scissors are just an all-around better, more surgical option. I'm going to take advantage of while I'm right here and pull out any weeds that I see. Because why not? I'm here, so get rid of those guys. And what I'm doing is I'm just tugging on the vine and I'm seeing, you know, kind of where I have some tension, where I can lift things up a little bit. Like I've got a lot of slack on this vine right here. You can see it wiggle in. I've got a lot, actually not as much slack on this vine. So I think I'm probably gonna pop this secondary vine. When I say pop, I mean cut, because when you pull them out, they make a popping noise. So I'm going to sever or cut or pop that one right there. I think that's pulling down on this. So I take my scissors, because you know a leaf comes out of this node right here. I can definitely feel it. Well, it's a big root. And you hate to do it, but it's just, there we go. It's like that pop. It's just better to do it now than do it later. So now you can see there's a lot of wiggle in there. And what I'm going to do is take one of these noodles that is not doing a whole lot anymore. And lift her up. So now, oh yeah, that's way better. Just already, just even taking that one root out took a lot of stress off of this main vine. And you want to be careful, right? You know, these are somewhat pliable, but they're also somewhat rigid. So always use caution when fiddling with this. And I'm really on the fence about taking this root off, but I think I want to do it now. Better to do it now than when I'm right here. Man, there's a lot of awesome roots. I don't know if it's coming through on the camera, but just so many roots. I'll show you. See all those roots off of that top root. That's why you bury your vines. So now, unfortunately, I'm going to dig down. Man, these are like carrots. And break. Oh, you just heard it pop. Break that root off. Man, yeah, look at that. So this that is free. Kind of eyeball it. I'm thinking maybe about that much pool noodle, 4 or 5 inches worth. Here we go. That took a ton of stress off of this main vine leading up to the stem. Now it's nice and pliable, and I'm going to check on the back side too. So let's check the back side. Here we go. I'm having a hard time getting a good camera angle on it. So we can see the front is really pliable now, but this one still has a pretty good amount of tension. It's taut. So I think I want to sever. I might be able to. This root is kind of having a hard time seeing. So if the camera works horrible, I apologize. This one's still attached a little bit, and there's some wiggle room here. So I'm probably just gonna get the pool noodle. See, that wasn't even doing anything anymore. And get this guy underneath here to lift it up a little bit more, because this root is holding on by a thread. There's more than a thread now that I feel it. There's a lot of roots right there, and even just doing this, now there's a lot more wiggle to it. So that might be good, and we'll call this stem vine maintenance here project. That's good enough for now. So let's move on to the next thing. I put everything back over Howie over there, and I've turned my attention to Maui. Maui is the pumpkin that I'm growing in the pitchfork, well, the spider or the waterfall or whatever you want to call it, the Mike Schmidt rocket method, where what that means is that the pumpkin is on the main vine and I cut the main vine after it. So unlike my other two pumpkins where the main vine keeps going, the main vine ends right here, and all of the plant that is now behind the pumpkin technically is coming from in front of it. So the theory is that if the pumpkin's going this way, all of the energy is coming from here and it's pushing all the energy. Whereas, depending upon who you talk to and your theories are, you'll have energy that comes from this way going to the fruit and energy that comes from this way going to the fruit. I got to tell you, initially, right now, I really like this method just because it's easy to get to the pumpkin. Putting the growing board underneath is a piece of cake. Getting to the fruit is a piece of cake. And everything about it is basically easier than the Christmas tree where the pumpkin is kind of growing in the middle of the plant. So, back on topic here. On the stem of the pumpkin, we've got some cracks right here. That's fine. That's not a big deal. This is just a little tighter than I want to see. And all I'm going to do is put another pool noodle shim right there. It's not time to really let go of any more roots yet. I'm just going to lift this up a little bit more. And really that's all I want to do. The secondary vine is not taut. This secondary vine is not taut. This one just a smidgen. So all I'm going to do is lift up the vine on this just a little bit, and we'll call that one good. For the second half of this video, we're going to talk about stump maintenance. The stump is, where your seed started. It's the beginning of the plant, and where a lot of your nutrients and grow juice comes from. So it's really important to keep that well maintained. At a glance, we can see here, maybe I can zoom in a little bit for you. The issues going on right now are that my stump is just a little overgrown. There's some weeds around it. There's a few leaves. I'm not worried about the leaves, like these older leaves that are around it. That's not a big deal. But those vines coming from, let's see, it's going all the way over there. Those vines coming from the stump, I don't want that. That's just, secondary, third stage growth that'll get wild. Don't want anything putting stress on the main vine on that stump right there. So let's go get in. I left myself somewhat of a walking path right here. This leaf is kind of bloated over. In fact, I'm going to, ouch, bend my fingernail back. Take that leaf out just so I have a more, and this one. God, these leaves are huge. So I have more of a direct path to the plant. That is just massive. So now I have easy access, and will continue to have easy access. Well, now I'll be able to pull these weeds out and get to the stump. So I'm going to pull some of these weeds. I'll set up the camera. We'll talk about the stump. Here we are at the stump. And good thing I came back here. So there's some things that we need to see and be aware of that are probably going to be helpful for you guys. So first of all of this growth, take out your knife. Be careful not to destroy anywhere on the stump, but cut all that away. This is just no good, no reason for it. This big vine that's going off yonder way, don't need or want that. So we're getting rid of it. And see, look, here you go. This is a 5-foot vine. Now it's gone. And I'm gonna cut away all this other weird growth. Put my knife away so we don't accidentally stab anything. Oops, that we don't want to stab. Get all this growth out of here. There's the seed. the seed that which this plant sprung forth from. Oops. And it's like there's a vine that grew down here. This is really weird. Don't want to tug on it too much. There we go. I just broke that vine off from underneath. Okay. So there we go. Got rid of all that. Look at all that. Don't need it. Don't want it. So now that we have access to the stump, I'm made aware of a few things. See this? This is like kind of gooey and yucky looking. This is green. This is all good. No big deal. But this, I don't like this. There's some just funkiness. So it's time to cover up this stump and get rid of these weeds. Cover up this stump. But before I do that, I'm giving it a spray. Some Daconol, especially everywhere that I just kind of like, hurt the plant a little bit. Give it a real good spray of the Daconol. And I'm coming back with a little bit of sulfur, covering that all up. That wasn't like a big infection or anything like that, so this is largely precautionary. So you can see this little hole right here. My mister is just straight up here, so unfortunately it has a little bit of a drip. So we're going to protect this stump with this cover so it stays dry, and it will stay dry now. And that spot shouldn't be a problem, but now I have access to this area. So if I ever need to do anything, it's not a big deal. Now it's easy to get there. I cut off all that junk that was growing, and I'll be able to keep an eye on it and get to it easy. I would look at them maybe, I don't know, once every 7 to 10 days, more if you have an issue. So that's all I got for you. I'm soaked, and I still have to tend to that plant over there. So there is your video on how to adjust your stems on your pumpkin / main vine, as well as general basic stump maintenance and care. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it. Share it with a friend. Comment below if you have any questions. I'm gonna go get a drink of water and get back to it. I appreciate you guys watching. Have a good one, and get out there, grow yourself a giant pumpkin. Any one of them will do. See ya.